Hello, Africa and the rest of the world. Welcome to the New Central TV studios, coming to you live from Lagos, Nigeria. And Sulaiman Alede, the headlines. Tensions in Somalia grow following clashes between government forces and other armed groups. At least 3 students have been abducted in Nigeria's mid-central state of Benue. South Africa to resume rollout of its COVID-19 vaccination campaign using Johnson & Johnson vaccine. Details shortly. While tensions continue to grow in Somalia with reports of clashes between government forces and other armed groups opposed to the extension of the presidential term for 2 more years. There are reports of defection to former security officials who have also barricaded some parts of the capital, Mogadishu. The United States has today issued a travel alert warning its citizens against imminent dangers. Now, Somalia's Prime Minister Mohamed Hussein Roble has issued calls for dialogue, inviting the opposition leaders for talks. But what next for Somalia? I'm now joined by Wenda Mbiji, an African security and governance expert. Well, good to have you join me, Wenda. Now, is the crisis in Somalia a matter of concern for the continent and the globe?
Thank you for having me, and good evening, my brothers from Nigeria. I schooled in Nigeria some years ago, so I'm home today. Thank you. Yeah, the crisis in Somalia is getting out of proportion. And it's such a shame that with all the effort Africa has put to stabilize Nigeria, these efforts seem to be going to the dogs because this president has refused to leave office.
You know, with the talk of security forces or members of the security forces defecting, how dangerous is this dimension in the country?
It's extremely dangerous in a country where security forces have not pledged their allegiance to the state. Their allegiance is still to warlords, to individuals. As you know, since the disintegration of Somalia in the early 90s, all their security forces, especially the military, has never been trained on, putting their allegiance to the state. They still put their allegiance to individuals, warlords, organizations like Al-Shabaab. And so this is very dangerous when people don't love their country, they love individuals.
Well, President Joe Biden has named Jeffrey Feltman the new envoy to the Horn of Africa. How does this help the growing tension in that region?
Well, I wish the new appointee good luck as they come to work in Africa, and I hope truly that they do not adopt the Obama strategy that Obama applied mostly to Africa, like Libya and much of Middle East, where he seemed to have the solutions for them. You cannot have solutions for people and impose them on them. You ask the people to design the solutions that fit them, then you support them in implementing those solutions. So I truly hope that the new envoy that has been appointed will bring everybody to the table in the Horn of Africa, state and non-state actors, and find a way to draw them to the middle ground where they can have compromises, where they can have win-win situations, so that the Horn of Africa can have peace. If he comes with dictation of what he thinks peace should be in the Horn of Africa, this has been a very this has been the hotbed of violence and lack of peace. And if he comes with that, it's going to fail.
You know, Wenda, Somalia is already confronted with Al-Shabaab terror war with support from AMISOM and other partners. How does the current crisis worsen the situation?
This current situation is a fodder for Al-Shabaab. Al-Shabaab is like witches. I learned a lot about witches in Nigeria. Witches are happy when you are in pain. Al-Shabaab, Boko Haram, all those terror groups, they celebrate when we are in pain, when we are in anguish, when we have no peace. In fact, as they disagree about presidential power in Somalia, the Al-Shabaab may be planning major terror attacks, explosions in Mogadishu like they have done before. So this is fodder, is red carpet for Al-Shabaab and other extremist groups in Somalia that, look, we are in chaos, you guys can have a heyday.
So what's next for Somalia?
It's not so far gone. The effort that Africa and the leaders of the world had put in supporting stability and peace in that country are not still thrown to the dogs. President Farmajo, the current president, beat them in the arm. He has spat on the face of the international community. His cousin should not be forgotten, is the one who actually oversaw the disintegration of Somalia, Siad Barre. They come from the same clan with this president. Looks like their clan has a leadership problem, or they like greed to power. However, it is not over for them if we can follow the constitution. African Union has spoken, and United Nations Security Council has spoken. They have told him to respect the constitution, to leave office. So if we can follow the constitution, the process of healing Somalia could continue smoothly, and one day there could be peace and healing and stability in the country of Somalia.
Wanda Mbijiwe, many thanks for unpacking this for us.
Thank you very much.
Now, staying in Somalia, the country has joined African Risk Capacity established to help African governments improve their capacities to respond to natural disasters. The announcement comes a day after humanitarian leadership declared drought in Somalia. The agreement on Monday was signed by Somalia's Humanitarian Affairs and Disaster Management Minister Khadija Diriye in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. ARC enables countries strengthen their disaster risk management systems and access rapid and predictable financing when disaster strikes. It is run by 34 African Union member states. Still in the region, the newly appointed Special Representative for South Sudan and head of United Nations Mission, Nicholas Haysom of South Africa, has arrived in the world's newest country. Haysom was received at Juba International Airport by his two deputy special representatives, the force commander and police commissioner. He also met with the South Sudanese Minister for Foreign Affairs, Beatrice Wani Noor, before inspecting a guard of honor at the mission's headquarters. Mr. Haysom says once he completes his mandatory 10-day quarantine, he will lead the peacekeeping mission's ongoing support to establish durable peace in South Sudan. In the meantime, the UN mission in South Sudan has called on state government officials from the newly formed government in central Equatoria to come together and discuss a strategic action plan on implementing the provision of the revitalized peace agreement. The call was made at a two-day workshop in the South Sudan's capital, Juba. Frank discussions took place during the event, with emphasis on the need to move forward and implement the provisions of the peace agreement. In all, the participants concluded their discussions on a note of hope. In East Africa, Tanzania's President Samia Suluhu Hassan has pardoned more than 5,000 prisoners to celebrate Union Day. President Suluhu urged the released inmates to put into practice the lessons they learned in prison and lead responsible lives when rejoining their countries, the communities. Now, Union Day marks the coming together of Tanganyika and Zanzibar to form the Republic of Tanzania on April 26, 1964. Pardoning prisoners on Union Day is an annual tradition. Last year, the late President John Magufuli pardoned close to 4,000 prisoners to ease congestion in prisons. About 35,000 prisoners are reported to be in the country's jail. In Central Africa, Pahimi Pedakche Albert has been appointed as the new Prime Minister of Chad. The announcement was made by the head of the transitional government in a decree read on Monday by the spokesperson for the Transitional Military Council, the CMT. 54-year-old Pedakche came in second in the April 11 election and previously served as the country's prime minister from the year 2016 to 2018. He had been appointed by former Chad's President Idris Deby. The president of the National Transition Commission also appointed Mr. Idris Yusuf Boy as his private secretary. In the west of Africa, Côte d'Ivoire has suspended all driving test instructors as a part of an ongoing cleanup of the sector. The move follows recent road accidents that have left many people dead. Now, Transport Minister Amadou Kone said police officers will oversee the driving tests for a period of 3 months from next week. The minister, who attributed the latest accidents to human error and not bad roads, said the suspension was not an incrimination of the license. About 1,400 people die in road crashes every year in Côte d'Ivoire. Still in West Africa, at least 3 students have been abducted in Nigeria's mid-central state of Benue. The students were from the Federal University of Agriculture in the state capital, Makurdi. The institution confirmed the incident on Monday, adding that the abduction has been reported to the police and all relevant security agencies. The institution adds that it has not heard from the students or their captors since the abduction. The police command in the state says an investigation into the case has been ordered. The recent abduction comes barely a week after about 20 students were abducted from Greenfield University in the northwestern state of Kaduna. By the way, still in the issue of the abduction of Greenfield University in Kaduna State in Nigeria, report reaching us has it that 2 of the abducted students have been killed by their captors. We'll bring you more story as it unfolds. Now, still talking insecurity in Nigeria, fighters from the Islamic State West Africa province in 15 trucks fitted with machine guns stormed the town of Gaidam, leading to a gun battle with troops from a nearby military base. Despite assurances of safety from the military, some residents remained indoors, while some have fled. Well, I hope to bring you details of that report pretty much later on the news. Now, the governor of Nigeria's southwest state of Ekiti and chairman of the Nigeria Governors Forum has called for stiffer sanctions for crimes relating to terrorism, banditry and kidnapping. Governor Kayode Fayemi in Nigeria's northwestern state of Kaduna says the country must adopt a bespoke method to tackle the current rise in insecurity. He also urged religious leaders nationwide to shun partisan politics, but rather engage in constructive criticism to push government to achieve its promises to the people. In Southern Africa, French energy giant Total has suspended operations at a site exploring a major gas field in northern Mozambique, weeks after militants attacked a nearby town. The company says it is withdrawing all staff owing to the tense security situation. Dozens of people were killed in the March raid. Militants linked to the Islamic State group are behind the conflict in the predominantly Muslim region. Last year, Total began to develop a $20 billion gas liquefaction plant, which, when complete, will be the second largest gas reserve in Africa. Now, coming up, the latest on the coronavirus pandemic across Africa as Kenya vaccinates almost 826,000 people against COVID-19. Stay with us. Welcome back. South Africa will resume its Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine rollout on Wednesday following recommendations from its cabinet and health regulatory authority. Health Minister Zweli Mkhize says it's been established that there is a 1 in a million chance of getting the clot after the vaccine. He adds that with such low probability of developing a clot, regulators across the world have recommended the continued use of the vaccine. South Africa suspended its Johnson & Johnson vaccination program 2 weeks ago over concerns that the jab could cause blood clot. For more on this, Deputy Director of the Africa Health Research Institute in South Africa's KwaZulu-Natal province, Professor Tumbi Ndugu, joins me now live from where he leads HIV and TB research. Good to have you join me on the news. How effective, has the pre-vaccination assessment and post-vaccination monitoring been to warrant a resumption of the use of the Johnson & Johnson?
I think what we are seeing is a very effective monitoring of participants. Obviously, starting with the clinical trials that were done outside of South Africa primarily, and then started here in South Africa. Of course, when you do a clinical trial, the first thing that you look for is safety of the vaccine. And so there was extensive testing of this vaccine, both for efficacy, but also for safety. And the vaccine was pretty much shown to be very safe, despite this few setbacks that we have had recently. And of course, then after the rollout of the vaccine started, there were these cases emerging of blood clots, which are very rare. It's about one case in about 1 million out of about 7 million people, for example, that have received the Johnson & Johnson vaccine in the United States. Only 6 cases of these serious blood clots have been found. So I would say that both the monitoring of the vaccine before it was implemented and after the rollout started has been superb.
Professor Ndugu, as it stands now, you have the great number of people who are called Thomases, people who don't have trust for the vaccine. Will these people be allowed to go ahead and take their own preferred manufacturer vaccine against the J&J?
The J&J vaccine actually offers a lot of advantages, has a lot of advantages over other vaccines. First of all, it can be stored at in the fridge at about 2 to 8 degrees for up to 6 months, and that gives it an advantage over some of the other vaccines. For example, the Pfizer vaccines or even the Moderna vaccines, which have to be stored in a freezer, and therefore storing this vaccine is obviously much easier. Also, the fact that this vaccine, the J&J in particular, requires only 1 dose for it to be effective. So I think when one considers all the evidence about these vaccines, one has to say that J&J, despite the setbacks of these very rare cases of blood clots, is still perhaps the best vaccine to use in South Africa. And it's also important to note that in South Africa, where we have this novel variant that other vaccines are not able to protect against, in particular the AstraZeneca vaccine was found not to be able to protect. This vaccine, the J&J, was shown to be effective against the South African variant. So although I do expect that there will be some hesitancy because of these reports of these very rare blood clots, and I think it's only natural that people would be hesitant, but I think if one goes by the scientific evidence, the J&J vaccine is probably still the best vaccine for us to use here in South Africa and perhaps in a lot of other African countries. And I hope that despite these reports of very rare cases of blood clots, that people will come out and get vaccinated. The benefits of this vaccine by far outweigh the risks of these very rare blood clots.
Well, call it 1 in a million. No one wants to be that 1 in a million. From your assessment of the procedure, do you think the government is doing the right thing?
I think that we have to be to realize that all vaccines and in fact all pharmaceutical products have some risks, and therefore I think the government here has been very careful the government has been very upfront in terms of informing people about what is happening and about the side effects that were reported. And even though these cases were very, very rare, one in about 1 million, I think it was important for the government to do what it did, which was to pause these trials in order to tell people that they would look into the data, which they did. They had experts look at the data and see whether there were any cases of blood clots being reported in South Africa. And in fact, in South Africa, out of about almost 300 doses of the vaccine that have been now administered, there was not a single case that has been reported of this rare kind of blood clots. So I think that the government here has to be commended for the speed with which it moved, first of all, to pause the trials, to reassure the public that they were looking into the data and to give ethical bodies as well as regulatory authorities the chance to look at the data, but also to give clinicians the opportunity to be aware that this was a possible complication with this vaccine, so that if clinicians see these kinds of complications, then know how to deal with them. So I would give the government here a very high passing mark. I think they did everything by the book, and it reassures the public. And I think it goes a long way to tell people that things are being done in an ethical manner and with a due diligence and care. And hopefully this will result in confidence for people to go ahead with coming forward so that they can be vaccinated. Again, the risks of getting this disease, as we are seeing from some of the countries that are badly affected, such as India, are much more than the risk of just a few people getting these very serious cases of blood clots, even though they are very serious, of course, when they happen, and so they should be taken seriously as well.
Professor Tumbi Ndugu, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, the number of COVID-19 infections in Africa has surpassed the 4.5 million mark as the continent's death toll topped 120,000. Now, this is according to latest figures published by the Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. The health agency says that South Africa remains the hardest hit country by the pandemic in Africa, having registered over 1.57 million infections with more than 54,000 deaths. Now, the country's caseload is more than the tally recorded in Morocco, whose over 509,000 cases are the second highest on the continent. Now, over 826,000 people have been vaccinated against COVID-19 in Kenya. The country's health ministry on Monday disclosed this, saying 58% of those inoculated are 58 years and above. That's 19% of them are healthcare workers, 15% are teachers, 8% security officers. The Ministry of Health also said it has recorded 194 new coronavirus cases, raising the country's total tally to almost 157,000 cases. It said 248 people have recovered from the disease, 218 from home-based and isolation care, while 30 are from various health facilities countrywide. 21 people also died from the disease, taking the total fatalities from COVID-19 to more than 2,600. Away from the coronavirus pandemic, Nigeria's House of Representatives is set to probe an alleged trade of human parts from Nigeria to China. This followed a motion raised by a member of parliament, Rimande Shawulu, who said information of the illicit trade came after painstaking investigations.
Acting on information provided by an anonymous source, Chinese authorities seized a ship that sailed from Nigeria with 7,200 refrigerated penises, which were found in 36 boxes labeled as plantain on a ship that harbored at the Shanghai port. Harvest of organs can only be done by medical personnel with the aid of rogue public officials. Also concerned that perpetrators of this illicit trade by the year 2009 were generating between $600 million to $1.2 million profit annually and have been encouraged by poor security situation to use the third world as major suppliers, convinced that if nothing is done to curb this criminal act, more criminals will set up shops dealing in human organs in Nigeria, taking advantage of the current insecurity situation in the country. The House, therefore, resolves to mandate the Committees on Human Rights and National Security and Intelligence to investigate the whole gamut of this value chain known as red market or illicit market in human organs and report back to the House within 10 weeks.
Still ahead on the news, security forces execute 99 arrest warrants in an anti-mafia raid in Bari, Italy. More on this when we return. Join us again. Now, security forces in Italy have detained dozens of people across the country in a crackdown on mafia organizations. The anti-mafia operation on Monday involved the execution of 99 arrest warrants in the southern city of Bari. The police said the suspects were leaders and associates of Strittucciglio mafia clan. They face charges including extortion, drug trafficking and mafia association, among others. In the meantime, the United Kingdom has sanctioned 14 Russians who it said were complicit in the corruption uncovered by Sergei Magnitsky. Mr. Magnitsky is a lawyer who was arrested and later died in prison after alleging Russian officials were involved in a massive fraud. The measures freeze the assets of the officials and barred them from visiting the United Kingdom. It was enacted through a new law giving the government the right to penalize those it says were involved in the world's most serious cases of corruption. Member of Parliament Nuzgani welcomed the upgrading of the sanctions to include corruption and money laundering.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I congratulate and welcome my Right Honourable friend's statement to upgrade the Magnitsky sanctions to include corruption. And we mustn't forget the tremendous work of Bill Browder. Can I ask my Right Honourable friend that will these sanctions, new sanctions, apply equally to all individuals that fall short of the law? For example, will they apply not to junior but senior officials in the Chinese Communist Party who are implicitly involved in the abuse of the Uyghur and are living off the finances of Uyghur slave labour?
The European Union has launched legal action against the coronavirus vaccine manufacturer AstraZeneca. The European Commission, the EU's executive branch, said it was suing the company for not respecting its vaccine supply contract and for not having a reliable plan to ensure timely deliveries. The legal action marks an escalation in a long-running dispute between the two sides over the supply of coronavirus vaccines. AstraZeneca has described EU's lawsuit as being without merit. It said it would strongly defend itself in court. Tula Adela Rubalogun has the rest of the business news now.
Thank you so much, Suleiman. Now, welcome to NC Continental Prime, and this is the business news. Ethiopian Airlines commenced trials of the IATA travel pass on flights out of Addis Ababa to Washington, D.C. and Toronto, and out of London and Toronto to Addis Ababa on Sunday, the 25th of April, 2021. The IATA Travel Pass is a digital mobile app developed to enhance efficiency in testing or vaccine verifications. It also helps to verify the authenticity of the COVID-19 test information presented by travelers, necessary for ensuring the safety of passengers while complying with countries' entry requirements. The first airline to try the IATA Travel Pass on the continent was Rwanda's national carrier, Rwanda Air, which announced in late February that the airline would launch the app in April for a 3-week trial on one short-haul route. Now, from news of one carrier to another, it's not all clear skies for another of the continent's airlines in South Africa. But this time, it's not South African Airways that is having trouble being cleared for takeoff. The details are in this report.
South Africa's state-owned domestic airline Mango has announced that it cannot pay staff salaries. The state carrier has been in debt for a while and has been defaulted on loans for more than 6 months and will likely ground its fleet from the beginning of next month because it owes money to the Global Aviation Operations, which is a third-party lessor. While South African Airways has received some money, the Parliament has not yet approved any allocation of funds for the subsidiaries like Mango. Reports suggest that money will arrive in June, but that's not soon enough for Mango, as the airline has confirmed it will be paid April salaries, but is not sure of May's salaries. However, the best outcome for the airline is that the money from the South African government could arrive in June. If it does happen, it would allow the airline to pay the lessor the money it owes, and Mango can resume operations. If this happens, the airline will be placed into business rescue until July. Then, it can use the government loan to pay creditors and employees.
Now, regardless of how difficult 2020 was for investors and businesses across Africa, some CEOs and business owners were able to keep their heads above water while still adding value. Business Day Media Limited honored some of the businesses that not only survived, but thrived in 2020 at the Nigerian Investor Value Awards. News Central was the official media partner.
Formerly known as the Top 25 CEOs and Next Bulls Award, the Nigeria Investors Value Awards, or NIVA, was organized by Business Day Media Limited, one of Nigeria's foremost business and financial news providers, as well as the Nigeria Stock Exchange, the NSE.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, welcome to the Nigeria Investor Value Awards. Joe has been...
The awards ceremony seeks to celebrate CEOs of public companies who have created sustainable alpha-generating value through strategic intelligence, operating efficiencies, market leadership, and organizational values. The year 2020 leading into 2021 was indeed a tough business year for several investors and CEOs in Africa and the world over, and Business Day deemed it fit to recognize those who, despite the obvious challenges, were able to rise above.
Once again, please put our hands together for Seplat.
Some of the award winners of the night included Seplat, who won 2 awards in the listed companies categories, and CAP PLC, who won Best Performing Stock and Most Profitable Company in Industrial Goods, Chemicals and Paint subsector.
We're in a strong position as a company. We're financially very strong because of a lot of years of good management. Going forward, we still have the loyalty of our customers. We still have very strong brands. So I think that's what really keeps us together and what makes us really grow from strength to strength going forward.
FBN Holdings PLC winning the award for Listed Company of the Year.
First Bank Nigeria Holdings PLC won Listed Company of the Year, while Nimeth International Pharmaceutical PLC won Best Performing Stock.
For us at FBN Holdings, what we did, in fact, we started about 3-4 years ago to make investments in the digital space. So we had built digital platforms which enabled us to continue to render service to our customers, and that paid off. And it wasn't just about our own customers, but across the industry, we provided the platform for the Nigerian public to be able to transact using the cards, using the online, and of course, using other channels.
That's right, an NPF Microfinance Bank reported.
Several companies were awarded for the Next Bulls category, including Dantata Foods and Allied Products Limited.
You have to be a good manager to be able to survive. The survival instinct kicks in, when everything stops. Because you either shut down or die, or you have to be creative and come out and work. And we have seen that, with the advent, the benefit of hindsight, we now have to look inwards for most of what we produce.
Congratulations once again.
In the end, it was a night of celebration for all award winners and attendees of the awards. Bernard Akede, News Central Lagos.
The process of awarding all mining licenses is a competitive one anywhere in the world. On today's Business Edge, we spoke to Benjamin Agadagba, Director of Integrity and Sustainability at Spring Rock Energy, on why Adex Petroleum had its license revoked, the same license that has now been reinstated.
In general terms, the DPR expects the owners of assets to develop them as quickly as possible within the term of the life of that particular license. So if it is evident that there's no performance, then there will be a need to revoke that license, because what Nigeria wants is assets to be developed to increase our production capacity. So when owners of assets do not develop, it is holding back countries, there will be a need to revoke such licenses and find other owners or operators.
And that's all the business we have for you on NC Continental Prime. My name is Solulokwe Adeleru Balogun. It's back to Suleiman.
Many thanks, Tolu. And now to sports and quite a number of issues happening, especially in the world of cricket, where South Africa seem to have done pretty well. Onyeo Barry, she's got more for us.
Lineman. In the world of sport, we begin with cricket, where South Africa's women's team have qualified for the 2022 Commonwealth Games in Birmingham. They join Australia, India, New Zealand and Pakistan, who have already booked their place in the Games, due to begin on 26th of July. The eighth and final place will go to the winner of the qualifier, as cricket is the first sport discipline at the Games to announce its qualifying teams. The event will only be the second time cricket has featured at the Games, after the men's 50-over competition, won by South Africa, was included in Kuala Lumpur in 1998. Now moving on, we move to football, where Egypt's national team head coach, Hussein El Badri, has tested positive for COVID-19. El Badri's daughter first caught the virus, and as a means of precaution, he decided to take the swab test himself. The test came back positive, and the former Al Ahly head coach immediately went into self-isolation. He will be following all medical protocols to ensure a speedy recovery. Now, Harambee Stars coach Jacob Gose-Muli is responding to treatment after undergoing a minor surgery in India. The veteran football coach gave an update on his recovery while speaking from his hospital bed in New Delhi. Now, in an Instagram post, Muli is seen donning hospital gear. The picture also shows the former Tusker FC of Rwanda's Patriotic Army coach gesturing a thumbs up to the camera. He assured Kenyans that he would be fit enough to prepare the men's national team, Harambee Stars, for the 2022 World Cup qualification matches, which begin in June. Now to England, where Manchester United and Ivory Coast defender Eric Bailly has signed a new contract at Old Trafford. According to Manchester United, the Ivorian said he did not have to deliberate before agreeing terms that will run until June 2024, with the option of a further year. Bailly says he's aiming to remain injury-free, lift the Europa League trophy this time, and then sustain a push for the Premier League title in 2021-2022. The centre-back joined Manchester United from Villarreal in 2016, as the 27-year-old won the Europa League with the Reds in 2017, and Manchester United to meet Roma in the first leg of the semi-final of this year's competition at Old Trafford on Thursday. Now, it's a good one for Arsenal, as from Manchester United, we're moving right now to London, where Folarin Balogun also committed his... Now, staying in the English Premier League, former Newcastle United striker Alan Shearer and Arsenal former striker Thierry Henry have become the first two players inducted into the Premier League Hall of Fame. Shearer is the Premier League's all-time top scorer, having scored 260 goals across 14 Premier League seasons with Newcastle and Blackburn Rovers. The former England international who won the Premier League title for two different clubs. Henry scored club record 175 Premier League goals in 258 matches for Arsenal. And that was it in sport. I am Onyechi Obara. Over now to Sulaiman for the rest of the bulletin.
Thank you very much, Onye. I'm so excited about the next news because it all started as a big joke. But now Nigeria's online parody group, Ikorodu Boys, have continued to wow Hollywood directors with remakes of movie trailers. Their latest effort A recreation of Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead has caught the attention of Zack himself, who had a conversation with the group, and now the multi-million-dollar streaming platform Netflix is on it. News Central's entertainment desk has followed their progress and filed in this report.
Social media is a positive tool in the hands of today's Generation Z, changing the perception of Africa to the world. By creating humorous and entertaining skits, Gen Zs are getting notable attention. From the entertainment desk here at News Central, here are our top 5 African kid stars. At number 1, Emanuela Samuel, 10-year-old Nigerian YouTube channel comedian on Mark Angel's YouTube channel. Now, after the success of her comedy skit, This Is Not My Real Face. In 2018, she landed a role in a Disney original film, and in 2021, she won the Nickelodeon African Social Media Star Awards following her nomination in 2018.
Thank you so much, and don't forget to stay safe.
Kenyan Elsa Majimbo is our number 2 spot. With over 2.2 million followers on Instagram alone, the 19-year-old social media comedian and 15 times chess champion has gotten the attention of music industry's biggest names, Rihanna, and Grammy-nominated award artist Beyonce. Majimbo has worked with Italian luxury fashion house Maison Valentino to create her debut book, Alphabets, for kids and adults.
Wait, it needs to be more interesting than that. It will drop from above.
Oh, shit. Oh.
It's the creativity and attention to detail of the Kurdu boys that brings them to our list. The Nigerian brothers, ranging between the ages of 11, 13, and 23, have even gone to receive gifts from multi-million-dollar streaming entertainment service company Netflix. Muiz, Malik, Babatunde Sani, and their cousin Fawaz, Aina, have creatively replicated the real-life scenarios, top-notch music videos, to fictional scenes from Hollywood blockbuster movies, using only resources available to them. They have immersed several thousand of followers from all across the globe, including the attention of basketball star LeBron James, American awards-winning rapper Rodri Rick, and film actor and producer Will Smith.
Do when we come in. No, never.
Dance is also a major wave on the internet, and that's our number 5 kid star has a Guinness World Record as the youngest disc jockey in the world. DJ Ark Jr. at age 3 became the youngest winner of South Africa's Got Talent and went on to compete in America, China, and British Got Talent. These kids are extremely phenomenal, and that's why we celebrate them. With their creative approach to the use of social media, these kids are globally recognized, and that's what makes them a part of our top 5 African kid stars.
Always an exciting moment with you, Sam Dandy. Now, a huge cyclone that had been forecast to hit Tanzania's coastline on Sunday has weakened considerably as it made landfall, lessening the impact of predicted results. Now, Tropical Cyclone Jobo has been predicted to be the most powerful cyclone to land in Tanzania in more than 50 years. People living in low-lying areas have been advised to move to higher grounds. Authorities in the Tanzania's island of Zanzibar halted all sea activities, including fishing and transport. News Central's weather desk has more of what to expect across the continent tomorrow. that's all on the news. Others are, but before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories. Tensions have continued to rise in Somalia following clashes between government forces and other armed groups opposed to the extension of the president's term in office. At least 3 students have been abducted in Nigeria's mid-central state of Benue. And finally, we told you that South Africa will resume the rollout of its COVID-19 vaccination campaign using Johnson & Johnson vaccine on Wednesday. Follow us on social media. We're at News Central TV. You can also catch up with our news and programs. Just download the News Central TV mobile app on Play Store and iOS. You can also watch us live in Star Times channel 274. I'm Sulaiman. Many thanks for watching.